Lately, I've actually been increasing how much Bitcoin I'm buying. Not because of hype, not because I'm thinking it's going to the moon next week, but because I'm starting to feel like this window where Bitcoin is still relatively affordable for the average person like you and I, and for the average income especially, might not last forever. And today, I want to walk you through exactly why I'm thinking that way. Quick disclaimer, this is not financial advice. I'm just sharing what I'm personally doing and why. Now, here's the core idea I'll keep coming back to. I believe there's a limited window where the average person can still accumulate Bitcoin. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's possible for now. Think about real estate. There used to be a time where buying a home in a major city felt really hard, but it was still doable. Then, over a few generations, home prices kept shooting up. But the thing is that wages didn't keep up, and suddenly the same goal of buying a home felt unrealistic for average incomes. That's the lens I'm starting to see Bitcoin through now. Think about this for a moment. I don't know about you, but to me it seems that right now, if you're an employee, wages are barely rising. Also, despite the news saying that inflation is coming down, fact is that the cost of living is as high as ever. And then add the fact that overall Bitcoin's price, despite its volatile ups and downs, has continued to go up over the last years. So all of these things coming together, stagnant incomes, high cost of living, and Bitcoin's price going up, makes it clear that buying Bitcoin is just going to become more difficult over time. And this is the part I think many people underestimate. Today, someone with a yearly salary of $80,000, let's say, could probably accumulate 0.5 if not 1 Bitcoin over the next 5 years or so. And yeah, it's difficult, and yeah, it's a stretch, but it is still possible. But fast forward 5 to 10 years from now, when your salary has barely budged at $90,000 or so, let's say, and Bitcoin is already at $300,000 or $400,000 or whatever, that will seem almost impossible. Buying a meaningful chunk of Bitcoin may no longer be realistic for average earners by then. So this is just how I think about it. Again, this is not financial advice, but while I still can, while Bitcoin is still in its relatively early stages and its price hasn't gone to the moon yet, I want to secure myself a slice of that Bitcoin pie before that slice becomes too expensive to buy and even a crumble becomes completely unaffordable. What do you think, guys? Do you think owning 1 Bitcoin will still be realistic in 5 to 10 years? And if not, do you think that stacking that 1 Bitcoin within the next 5 years seems more doable? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. By the way, I just want to let you know, guys, that when it comes to stacking Satoshis, here in Canada, I like to use an exchange called NDAX because it has one of the lowest trading fees in the market of just 0.2%. And you can even get a $10 bonus by using my affiliate link down below, but more about that and how I secure my Bitcoin later. So what changed recently that made me determined to buy more Bitcoin? You might have already seen this stat somewhere. About 95% of all Bitcoin has already been mined. Let's unpack that for a moment because this matters. Bitcoin has a fixed supply of 21 million coins. It's a built-in limit. Bitcoin can never have more than 21 million coins because the rules of the network were designed that way from the start. It's unlike fiat money, which is your dollars or euros or yens that your government can print endlessly. While fiat money has an expandable supply, Bitcoin supply is fixed at 21 million. In early 2026, 95% of that 21 million, or about 20 million Bitcoins, have already been mined, with just 1 million coins remaining. Now, a quick detour. Mining Bitcoin in this context simply means a process that brings new Bitcoin into circulation. Roughly every 10 minutes, a new block is added and new Bitcoin is issued as part of that process. So now that exactly 20,003,043 Bitcoin have already been mined as per making of this video, and the maximum supply is 21 million, we're left with only less than 1 million Bitcoin. And that Bitcoin that has been mined is currently already owned by someone. So imagine a pie with 21 million slices. 20 million slices have already been claimed, and the few that are left are being released very slowly. Right now, about 450 Bitcoin are created per day. The reward that miners get for mining Bitcoin is 3.125 Bitcoin at the moment. But roughly every 4 years, an event called the halving happens. That's when miners' rewards get cut in half, and so does the number of new Bitcoin mined. So while now about 450 Bitcoin per day are being mined, after the next halving in 2028, only about 225 Bitcoin per day will be mined. And after the next halving, only 112 Bitcoin per day, and so on. So think of it like a faucet that keeps tightening. At first, water flows quickly, then every few years, the faucet gets turned down again, and again, and again. And that continues until year 2140, when the last Bitcoin is expected to be mined. So yes, 5% is left now, but that 5% is being released over more than a century, which means most of the Bitcoin that will ever exist already exists today. So are you early or late to the game? I think it really depends on how you look at it. If you're just starting, you might be late considering 95% of Bitcoin has already been mined. But if we look at Bitcoin's adoption rate, which is only 4%, then you're probably very early. In any case, it's better to start now than never. Everyone is just starting to open their eyes to Bitcoin, not just individuals, but also businesses, institutions, and governments. Now let's talk about who actually owns Bitcoin, because this might be surprising. Based on River's 2026 report, individuals like you and I own about 66.7% of all Bitcoin. That's 14 million of the Bitcoin supply. Businesses own almost 7% of the Bitcoin supply, or about 1.5 million Bitcoin. Funds and ETFs like BlackRock, Fidelity, and so on now own a whopping 7.1%. That's another 1.5 million Bitcoin. Yes, in case you haven't noticed, they too are piling up on Bitcoin. And then there are even governments who own about 2.1% of all Bitcoin, or close to 500,000. And at the tail end, on the far right side there, that's the 5% of Bitcoin that has not been mined yet. The last 1 million waiting to be claimed. So at first glance, it looks like individuals hold the majority of Bitcoin, at almost 2/3. But there are two important nuances to look at here. First, lost Bitcoin. Yes, an estimated 3 to 4 million Bitcoin may actually be permanently lost because of forgotten keys, lost devices, or inaccessible wallets. That's the sad truth. So just a quick reminder in case you self-custody Bitcoin. Never lose your Bitcoin. So considering this, the real available supply is already smaller than it looks, with only about 10 million Bitcoins in the hands of individuals. The second thing to note here is that ownership is shifting. River says individual ownership peaked around 2024 and since then has started declining. On the other hand, institutions, funds, and governments have been increasing their exposure. The report also suggests that institutions could own a majority of Bitcoin within the next decade. Not my favorite scenario, guys, to be honest. Not my favorite scenario. While I'm not against institutions and governments joining the Bitcoin bandwagon, I do prefer individuals holding most of Bitcoin. And yes, I will definitely do my part in that. So now that we have a clearer picture of Bitcoin supply, there's really not a lot. Now, what about demand for Bitcoin? Because this is where the pressure really comes from. Bitcoin is no longer just something individuals buy on the side. We're seeing corporations adding Bitcoin to balance sheets, ETFs opening the door for large pools of capital, and governments acquiring Bitcoin in different ways. If you look at the next chart here from the River report, you'll see how mainstream Bitcoin is becoming, even on Wall Street. 60% of the top US banks are building Bitcoin products, and even 52% of US's top hedge funds have a Bitcoin allocation. And they're all doing this for a reason, as we'll talk about in a moment. Since 2022, Bitcoin has seen more than 700 billion in investment inflows, according to River. Put simply, you're bidding on the same limited asset, but now much larger players have joined the auction. And that leads to the bigger question. Why are all of these groups buying Bitcoin in the first place? The answer is not just hype. It's a mix of Bitcoin's core strengths and the environment around it. For individuals, the reasons are usually practical. Survival, I would even say. First, Bitcoin has a fixed supply, as we've established earlier. 21 million Bitcoins, and that's it. Unlike fiat currencies, no one can decide to create more of it. And for people worried about inflation and rising living costs, that matters. Second, Bitcoin is accessible. When buying a home, you can't just buy a tenth of a house and live in it. You need to either save up enough money or take up a mortgage to finance that 1 unit of house. But with Bitcoin, you can start with a small amount and build over time. No need to be intimidated by the astronomical price of Bitcoin. And this is where the idea of stacking sats comes in. 1 Bitcoin equals 100 million Satoshis, Bitcoin's smallest unit. You don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin, at least not at once. You can just start accumulating small pieces. And third, Bitcoin gives people the option of self-custody. That means that you can hold it yourself instead of relying entirely on a bank or institution. And this means freedom and flexibility. In a world where you never know if your bank account might be confiscated or shut down, you can have a peace of mind having full self-custody over your Bitcoin. For many individuals, Bitcoin represents some mix of savings vehicle with the possibility of high appreciation over the long term and a financial independence tool. A tool to escape the rat race, in my opinion. Now, what about institutions? Institutions care about different things. They look at Bitcoin as a diversifier in a portfolio, potential high upside allocation, something they can't miss out on. And it's also a way to meet client demand. In the future, financial institutions that do not offer Bitcoin will be cast aside by consumers in favor of those who do. And also, ETFs matter here. Before there were Bitcoin ETFs, buying Bitcoin often required technical setup, custody decisions, and operational friction. ETFs removed a lot of that. Now, large firms who are not comfortable buying Bitcoin directly and holding it in self-custody can get exposure to Bitcoin through a familiar investment wrapper. That lower friction is a big reason that institutional demand has accelerated. But what about governments? Who would have thought that governments would ever buy Bitcoin? Or are they exactly the ones who need Bitcoin the most? Governments are the most overlooked group. Some governments hold Bitcoin simply from seizures, but some, an increasing number, appear to become interested in Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset. Why? Here are some reasons. Why, for example, would China really trust the USD, especially now? And why would Russia ever completely trust using the yuan? Wouldn't it be safer for governments to just use Bitcoin, which is global, scarce, neutral, and not controlled by any single country, placing every country who holds it on equal footing? That does not mean that every government will embrace it. But well, ultimately they'll have to, I believe. But it does explain why they are paying attention. In a world where trust in monetary systems, debt levels, and reserve structures is being questioned more often, Bitcoin offers a very different kind of asset. When you zoom out, these groups have different motivations, but they are all reacting to the same underlying reality. Bitcoin is scarce in a world where most things are not. Individuals want protection, ownership, and upside. Institutions want diversification, access, and performance potential. Governments want optionality and strategic positioning. Different reasons, same direction. More demand for a finite asset. So where does this all leave us, and especially those who haven't bought into Bitcoin yet? Now let's keep this grounded. I'm not making any predictions about what price Bitcoin is going to. And no matter what anyone says, there are no guaranteed outcomes. But here's a basic principle. When demand rises while supply is fixed or grows very slowly, price tends to face an upward pressure over time. That does not mean straight lines. Bitcoin is volatile. It can move up fast, go down hard, or go sideways for long stretches as we've seen recently. But structurally, if more people and institutions want more exposure to Bitcoin while the supply is not growing, then waiting can come with a hidden cost. Waiting means buying later under worse conditions with higher competition, higher prices. Personally, I'm not waiting for that to happen. So this is what I'm doing now. I'm using every chance that I have, every cent I can spare to put into Bitcoin and secure my financial future. If you find buying Bitcoin intimidating, then here's what you can do. Again, not financial advice, just what I tell myself if I were beginning. You do not need to go all in. In fact, don't. Secure your basics first. Have an emergency fund that carries you over times when the market is down, so you're not forced to sell your precious Bitcoin. Start small. Even something like $10 per day or $50 per week is a really good start. And instead of trying to time the perfect entry, dollar cost average or DCA instead. A system where you buy a fixed amount of Bitcoin no matter where the market is at. And guys, in case you want to learn more about DCA and the different ways you can easily do it, you can join me in this video later. Now, in terms of buying Bitcoin, if you're just starting, just buy it from any reputable exchange. Since I'm in Canada, I personally use NDAX because they have one of the lowest trading fees of just 0.2%. It's transparent and really easy to use. That's a good start. Once you've accumulated some Bitcoin and feel comfortable with the process, I would transition to a cold wallet for more security. My favorite at the moment is the Cold Card, but I'm also still using Blockstream Jade. You can either transfer or send your Bitcoin from your exchange to your cold wallet so you hold your Bitcoin in self-custody. Or there are even platforms that let you buy Bitcoin directly into your cold wallet. In Canada, where I am, for example, I use Beaver Bitcoin. I just send the money via Interac and they send Bitcoin straight into my cold wallet. You can find my affiliate link down below in case you're interested. Disclaimer, I may earn a small commission at no extra cost to you. Now, I'm not going to talk about cold wallets in this video, but it's an important thing you gotta learn to do if you're serious about stacking sats. You can join me in this video to learn more. So guys, 5% Bitcoin is left to be mined. What will you do? The biggest mistake people make is not taking action because they think it's too late. That's emotions messing with their brain. The way I see it, it's like planting a tree. The best time, of course, was before, when Bitcoin was like $500 or whatever. But the next best time is now. Join me in this video next if you want to dive deeper into Bitcoin.